I have been having fun puzzling out various problems and upgrading our little platforms and doing a couple of things. Plus, we built another one in preparation to move on to the next planet, but I don't think we're going to go there today. Hello, everybody. This is Frogman, and welcome back to Factorio Space Age. As we can see, the Eagle 5 has made a few changes as far as things go. I've reworked the engine fuel production system because this one sits in a orbit around a planet that doesn't have a lot of solar. I've been trying to maximize the amount of solar that I can get on this one, as well as reduce the weight. It's still pretty stinking heavy, but at least it's doing a little bit better on things. So I think, let me see, if we click on this one, this is the older style. As you notice, there's not as much, well, the older style, the other way of how I had things going, and I did go ahead and insert a couple of more tanks on this, plus some collectors on the back. But what I've done here pretty much is I've made it so that this folded, so that our system in here, go back over here, we folded this down, which gave me a lot of room in between those two areas to put some storage, as well as some more solar panels. And I've also done a little bit of goofing around, which is I've removed the walls on the side, which allowed me to remove the foundations underneath of those walls. And I might even, for that matter, take like these off. They're not really all that necessary. I just haven't gotten to that point. The walls are there mainly because the only time you're ever going to really have an issue with asteroids is when you're blowing through space and you run out of ammunition. But by doing that, your guns are still going to do what they need to do, or your turret's still going to do what they need to do, and you're going to be able to make your platform smaller. Speed is determined by several different things, and I know this is a very broad spectrum, but from what I can tell, for the most part, and you can go Google it all you want to, I've already done the Googling, you don't need to tell me. Speed is determined by how many foundations you have, how many engines you have, and how much fuel you can cram in those engines. There's also a little silly thing about, well, what people are calling space drag, which is kind of stupid, but we're not there at that point where I think it's a big problem. So that should actually kick us up at a reasonable speed. I'm fairly happy with that one. Prometheus, again, hasn't had a whole lot done to it other than I've went and shaved off some of the excess stuff around the outside edges to include those little spots we don't need here. These turrets, I've got the turret damage and the bullet damage, the ammunition damage up for high enough now that the asteroids aren't getting close to us. So to the point here, like you can see, I didn't even bother putting that stuff in here. But this one's been running perfectly fine. This one is going to be a kind of a combination of both of them, and I probably will fold this up. Gleba, I've already flown to Gleba and back with it just to make sure that it works, and Gleba has a similar situation to asteroids as far as Fulgora does, so we're going to have to be able to continuously get rid of asteroids while we're around those areas, and it works. Everything seems to be okay, and I may end up having to do the, like I said, the switcheroo down here. The only reason why I like this particular design better is that it's about, well, I think it's a full like solar panel width deep shorter, so it's that many fewer foundation shorter. So it means this one is slightly faster, and it all works fine. This one I also went ahead and added in a bunch of the cargo bays so that this one can do what it needs to do. In eventuality, we're going to be doing a lot of work on Gleba, and there's going to be a lot of things going back and forth between various places. So this one will probably be doing a lot of flying. So I want it to be able to store a lot of stuff. Anyhow, as far as everything else goes, the base here, I've done what it's needed to be done in order to be able to get everything up to about 500 science per minute. We're doing, well, almost everything. I think everything up here has been upgraded, if I recall correctly. We've upgraded everything up here to the Mark III assemblers. I've done a little bit of work here because we weren't making enough batteries. Now we're making plenty of batteries. I guess the funny part is that early game, I hate, having to make these, and I call this early game now, having to make low density structures because of the fact that we've done so many low density structure productivities. I think we're at now 60% more than what they normally do. Next one's quite a ways up. I'm probably going to do a few more of those. It has resulted in this not needing to be utilized at full capacity all the time, which is nice because that means those are going to be used while we're doing stuff here. Very handy, very nice. I've done a little bit of work down here as well. I was an idiot. I had my undergrounds backwards as far as some of this belt weaving goes. so that we were restricting ourselves on a few problems in here that has since been remedied. We're still running at a speed at which these are, well, pretty much more than capable of keeping things up. The only reason why I would even bother messing with those is to do a little bit more productivity, which we may or may not do in a future episode or in a future try. So let's see, catch up with Vulcanus. We had we had left off making a very small amount of science. I believe I forgot now how many I'm making. We're making about 360 a minute. We'll get around to doing some more work with this. I'm still kind of fiddling around with how I want to build out Vulcanus, but there are some interesting things that I do want to note about Vulcanus, and then if you guys decide to go here. I have a feeling the devs wanted us to go here first, and I'm just going to kind of throw it out here because of the similarities of how easy this was. This went very quickly. I mean, everything you need is around. You got the coal, calcite. I mean, everything you need in order to make all of the parts you need in order to continue to go as far as you want is available. Once you unlock them, you just do the same old thing. Stack down stuff and craft everything you want to, and you'll eventually be able to make whatever you want to make. So what we can do in here eventually, if I want to, is we can stuff a bunch of productivity modules in these, and we can run a bunch of beacons around them. I know I didn't leave enough room for most of the beacons, but we can move things around as need be. But it's essentially, that's pretty simple, easy. The biggest, hardest problem with Vulcanus was dealing with our little wormy friends. Do we have any visible? Probably. We have one over here. Yeah, these guys. That's the hardest thing. That and the cliffs. Once you get the cliff explosives open, well, then you just go do this. And then the cliff problem goes away. So all of these squiggly lines and all of these round things, they go away, which means you now have all the flat surface in the world to build all the things you ever really want to build. There used to be a cliff like right here, and you can see I blew it up, and there was a couple other cliffs around the area. Plus, I brought some stuff over to Fulgora and a couple of things. But yeah, it's pretty simple, easy. And what I will also say is, before we leave out of here, this system is running just fine. We're going to leave it alone. What I will say is these steam turbines are incredibly cheap to make. They're just copper and iron. That's all they are. I do believe they used to cost steel or whatever it was. Back in the day, I know they were more expensive than they are now. They don't cost anything at all other than steel and, iron and copper. You can run, I think it's 16 or 20 off of one of these things. So that's a lot of power off of one little bitty chemical plant and a miner. So it's like literally just enough stuff to feed the sulfur in. So you have your sulfuric acid that you're going to be pumping from wherever, and you're going to be dumping a little bit of that into one of these with a little bit of calcite, and then that steam comes out at 500 degrees. 500 degree steam is what these things need to be able to run at full power, so they make lots and lots of power. So you can either do this or you can do that. And had I known that, I probably would have, I would have dedicated an entire chunk of an area. So like I gotta quit doing that. Once we get some of these other areas open, I think there is some stuff, like there's some stuff up here and stuff down there. If you run into another area where you have a lot of sulfuric acid and a lot of calcite sitting around, not doing anything and not really being able to be utilized, you stack a bunch of that stuff in place, run power poles over place, and you got power forever. So pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty well happy with that. I think the last thing, and the thing that we're going to do ahead here in a minute, is we're going to go to Fulgora, and that is where we're going to start talking about what we wanted to do today. And I said that probably rattled and prattled. I am sorry, but it's just been one of those times. Fulgora, I have managed to unlock the deep piling for the rail supports. I guess that's what they're calling those things. I don't remember what well, you can't see it. Can we see these ones over here? These right here. So we can now build them on the deep oil ocean parts, and I believe I can build them in other areas. Well, I think that's the biggest problem, right? Let's look at those very quickly. Orange Science. Easiest way to find it was this. So that research right there, yeah, rail support foundations allows you to build those on deep parts of the oil ocean. So I still feel like we were supposed to go to Vulcanus first because of that. But then again, there's a lot of intermixing between sciences, between the planets, which is cool, and I'm enjoying it. What we're going to look at today is another little thing, and another little thing that is becoming a little bit more necessary to start exploring is quality, which I've already kind of set up a little bit of a system up here to make quality modules. Quality modules are basically like you're making regular modules, except that they're making quality modules until you get to the quality 3, whereas we need to inject a superconductor, which means we have to make them here. That's fine, no big problem. The thing about a quality module is you can build quality. If I wanted to say I want to make a various thing or do a few things or run stuff through recyclers, the quality module gives you a X amount of chance. So if I look at where is one of these? One of these will tell us down there in the corner. Okay, so like that, to make those, I'm trying to come up with quality module uncommons based off of just some goofing around. This is just me goofing around. Quality model, that right there gives us 12.5% chance on the craft here to make this. Now, that's what I'm doing in here, and I know this is kind of counterintuitive. If you have the parts that are already uncommon, you can craft any uncommon or whatever thing you want, as long as you have all the parts that you need to craft uncommons. The reason why I have that 12% chance in here to try to craft an uncommon is that 12% chance using those parts will give us a possibility of getting a rare, a rare, a number 3, this one, rare. They give you a chance, 12.5% chance to get a rare. So I've been just kind of goofing around with this, trying to come up with a way to make things work, or at least try to understand how this goes. So essentially what I have been doing is, and I'm not there now, but essentially what we've been doing is I've been taking parts like this, putting them in that chest and letting them run through the recycler, taking the parts that it gives me, the offhand occasional chance, and then putting them into machines so that I can make better quality to go back into here so that our chances go up. Is that the best way to do it? No, that's not the best way to do it. Essentially what we need to be doing is we need to be crafting those parts from the very beginning. Guaranteed. Which isn't easy. Which is why I'm wasting time doing other things. Is this going to be an eventual thing that we're going to be looking at? As far as me, and as far as the way things go with random stuff, so like what I want to kind of talk about here is the reasoning why you're probably going to want to get into quality. So if we look at, say, well, we'll just go ahead and grab the new ship. If we look at the quality or the space available here, if we're trying to keep our ships or our platforms as small as possible, then we're going to be out the one thing that we would normally use to make our, manufacturing or construction or whatever factories smaller. That is, until you can make a large amount of power on your platform, you're not going to be using these things to make this smaller. You see what I mean? So like right here, these each use 480 kilowatts of power just to give us a little bit of stuff here. That one machine right there, I guess we can grab the one that's going to be in the middle. The one in the middle there uses 1.3 megawatts of power to do its work, period. Well, if you look at, say, one of these other things, so like that was probably a fairly poor way to show it, but let's go back over to Fulgora here. If we look at, say, this machine right here that has an assembler, or has, what is this, electromagnetic plant in it. This is going to use 2.7 megawatts of power to craft that particular thing at a crafting speed of 2. This one, which is a rare, crafting this roughly the same thing, is going to use the same amount of power, but craft 1.2 more in the same amount of time for the same amount of power, which means you're getting productivity for the same amount of power, which is kind of cool. The interesting thing here is they'll both react the same way to efficiency modules, but this is going to give you that much more productivity. And that's just a rough, example of how things go in here. And that, like I said, doesn't count for the fact, and I do believe if you were to put these back in here. So, actually they don't cost power, do they? Yeah, they don't cost power, which is kind of one of those things that's a little interesting to me, is that they didn't bother to put a power usage like productivity or like these will. So like this is going to increase the power consumption by 60% if you put it in a machine. And I don't have any productivity here, do I? Yeah, I do. They're over here. Okay, so like these guys right here, That's going to increase the product and energy consumption of by 60% plus whatever this is going to do. So those things are, you can't see it because of the way that every time you add one of these things over here, this shrinks, so I can't see what's going on. But these are using a lot of power. A lot of power compared to what they're doing. Is it a problem? No, I have the space to put them down. But when you start talking about platforms, so like we can go to Eagle 5 now. If you start talking about platforms and the fact that I want to try to keep things as small as possible, I'm already using rare accumulators, because rare accumulators hold, what is it, 2/3 or like 66% more power than a basic one will, and they just discharge and charge at like, I think it's 180 kilowatts more each direction. So it's an amazing little thing. Solar panels. If we were to grab a constructor or an assembler, and we say I want a rare solar panel, and I look at this in here, and this is how I was trying to find this the other day, and I couldn't find it, but this is the easiest way to do it for me. A rare solar panel is going to output 96 kilowatts of power. A regular solar panel, I believe, is 60. Yeah, 60 kilowatts on this planet. Which means you're getting an extra 360 kilowatts per each device at that thing, which is a really large number considering the fact that for the most part, what you're trying to do on these platforms is just get them to get through. As we can see right now, we're discharging power slowly, very, very, very slowly, because I still don't have enough solar panels on Fulgora area to work. That's why I put these on here, because when we're at the other location or flying through space, these solar panels are enough to do the work. So the process, again, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? How do you want to make this work? You know, this is the kind of thing. You have to decide. Are you going to go whole ham and build everything on your base into native things that can do double, you know, stuff that runs on a specific, you know, power? So like those things would be max consumption at like almost 400 kilowatts, and then increase its production at a rare, so like say a rare production here for one of those, from 1.25 to, why did you do this? I don't want this. I want, what are those things? What did we grab? Well, we'll just say there, that thing right there. I wish I would learn to click the right button, that, and then this. So these will be crafted. What do those give us if we do that? Damage. So that's kind of one of those things that you can look at as far as this goes. So damage is 50 plus 90. Damage is 80 plus 144. Area of effect is, yeah, they're considerably better. Considerably better. So certain things, like I said, like that, make a lot of sense. But like, if I'm out here doing this kind of stuff and I already have the space and I already have the manufacturing, is it worth it to try to set up a basic system that works all the way down? What are you doing in there? Anyhow, just that's the kind of thing that I'm saying. If you have a lot of space, but you're trying to, for that matter, like I said, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do this at all. The only reason why I'm doing this is because of the fact the productivity in here, if I can keep these things cranking up at a reasonable speed, I'm using less resources by cranking our productivity up as high as I can possibly go. With machines like these electromagnetic, whatever you call these things, electromagnetic plants, or the forges, or those things like that have native productivity in them, all you're doing is cranking up the amount that it produces per thing. So you're essentially giving it more productivity for the same amount of power, the same amount of work speed. It makes a lot of sense, but if you have the space and the resources, is it worth the hassle of constructing, this point in time, rare resources? And I mean base rare resources. So like if I wanted to do, and I don't think it matters, I think you can do science. Maybe, I don't know. Let's look here just to laugh. Yeah, so we can do, like, say, legendary science, and that stuff will be used up a lot slower, a lot things. I mean, it's kind of one of those deals. If you don't have the resources, I could see where this goes well. And I mean, we're going to do some of it because we need to do some of it. Am I going to try to change out all of this? And I mean it, all of this for that kind of productivity and that production? I don't have that much time, guys. I don't really think we have the time to be playing around with it, and I know it may be something to do, but I'm not one of those YouTubers that has, days and days and days to do the work. So what I want to do with what's left of today is I'm going to dump all of our materials out of our system here, and I'm going to go over there and recycle or build a recycling system that is going to allow us to be able to hopefully produce some amount of quality, and then use that quality to build small stuff, or at least for right now, for our space platforms so that they can be more performative, meaning better solar panels, better asteroid collectors, better accumulators, although I don't think I need accumulators, say, for this one, and like maybe better of these, maybe, because if I don't have to put as many of these down, that means I don't have to waste the space on a platform. This platform, like I said, it might move one time. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. It may move one time. Platforms like this, this one especially, could do with getting a little bit of efficiency on solar panels because we're chewing through power. But again, at that point in time, if I have enough power to produce all the things that I need, do I then need to add efficiency to these? But if I have the power enough to run, speed modules in them, which is essentially putting another machine up here, is it worth my time? So that's kind of my thought. Anyhow, I'm going to go dump my inventory, and then we're going to go to Fulgora and play. Alrighty, drop down in through the clouds, and we got a few things we could play with, and I do want to put these back in here. Well, we'll worry about those later. So, like, things like this, I don't know if I'm ever going to really care about crafting things. So this is my point. This is what we're going to say. We'll get over with that whole deal. What we need to look at is decide what we're going to need produced. I mean, I wonder even if there's a point for qualitying those things. I haven't looked at everything. I'm not going to lie. And again, for those of you that are going to be like, well, the reasoning why you want to do that is so you can do blah, 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 blah. Yes, I understand the reasoning why I want to do things. The point is, as long as I have surface area like this, it takes the same, I understand, it takes the same amount of resources to build the stuff. It's getting those initial basic resources down to the quality level that you want in order to be able to do the stuff that you need to do it, which means, and this is the goofy thing, you have to start with like quality level wire and quality level plates and quality level concrete, which I don't even know if it's possible to make that kind of stuff easily. And I mean, I bet there is. I'm pretty certain I'm pretty certain whomever decided to do the quality sat down and did the math and figuring. Sometimes I wonder about, game devs and whether or not they actually thought about what they were doing when they put in a specific idea. Anyhow, what I want to do for sure is we're going to start working on getting that going. And by that going, what I want to do is, since we have a continuous supply of random garbage that's coming into this all of the time, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and just leave science alone for right now. Everything is going to be fine. And go pick us a spot, like I was saying, and try to figure out how to build a location out here that does nothing but quality. Meaning, what we're going to do is throw as many quality modules as we can into a bunch of these scrappers, like so, and trash anything that's not quality. So we're just going to cycle and cycle and cycle in a circle until there's nothing left but quality parts. I mean, I suppose I could do that with these, like I could dump a bunch of quality in these and have them go, but I want the speed as well, so we're going to be putting a bunch of beacons down and doing a few things. I did have a few of those made, or at least these. I don't know if I'm going to bother. Anyhow, let's gather up a bunch of parts, and let's figure out a spot somewhere in this area to build a very small thing. How much is on that? Not much. Biggest problem is, like, all the large land masses around the area don't have big chunks of stuff on them. So like that's according to that, that's 1.3 million of that. That's not a whole heck of a lot. There's a million or so there. I might be able to get that off. Let's... That, I don't want to drag it too far, although we do have a rail line. We can do whatever we want to with said rail line. Let's take a look around. Maybe we go up here, and then we take everything off of all of these and build it in there. Yeah, oh, and there's some of the stuff up there. Let's go up there. How much goodie do I have? I have 20 of those, and let me get a few more of those. Let me have a few more of you guys. Give me, like, 40, and then I want every quality module we've got right now in here. And those... And those, I don't know how many this is going to take. Okay. Yeah, away we go. Okay, so what I want to do is, let's look at this simply. How much crap can we cram into one of these before we beacon them? And I suppose I should probably go ahead and let me do the deal. I need to go ahead and make a little bit of a blueprint here. So I want that to 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Take this up here. We'll start stacking those in about right there. Okay, so with that being done, we're going to probably start over. Do we have any on this one at all? Maybe. How much is over here? Not much. That won't take very long at all. But again, I can kind of just tear all this place down and scrap it as well. So it's one of those, we can have a little bit of fun. Anyhow, let's look at what we've got going on with that. Go ahead, repair it because it got hit by lightning. We'll bring these over here. I'll probably grid this whole island out just so it has all the power it needs. But again, if I just want to take a recycler and I want to say, I want you to run as many of those as you can, and you're going to just run trash. So let me get some trash over here. By yourself, if I put this in here, you're going to be able to eat 2 of those a second. Now, if I can keep it powered, wow. And we could probably, even for that matter, like stack these in here and just do a couple of these. But essentially what I'm going to do is probably like that, whatever. We're going to want to try to feed it 45 items a second. So in that case, we can do 2 items a second. They will push. Oh yeah, I'm not doing anything, and I need to power it. 1 second. Give me. I'm an idiot. I know. I have better things too, and I should be doing that. I might go ahead and ship them over. Can I get you to do all of this? And you do this. You go right here. That's going to be 6.49 a second. So I can run 7 of those things. Okay, well then, let's just do 6 for right now. Oh, it's so bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we'll put one right there then. And then the same thing here, so we can do this instead of that. That will get this one. Why not? Just make some of them run way too fast. That'll probably be really ugly and it'll probably not work very well, but whatever. Go ahead and put those in. And then we need to put in power. And we need to put in a lightning detector thingy, whatever majigger. There we go. All right. So that's going to output probably way more stuff than we can get on a belt. Probably. Which means I'm likely going to not be able to output what I need. I guess we'll find out and see what happens. So with this being said, what we're going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing by filling up another set of belts. I'm going to assume it's probably going to be roughly about the same, so we'll just do, again, this many. I might pull... Maybe we can kill two birds with one stone here. We'll move these over. Okay, whether or not that's going to be enough, I have no idea. Wow, I'm really screwing up. How come you guys aren't telling me I'm screwing up? Quit being stupid. You're gonna get dropped right there. And what I can do with this filter is I can output priority, what is that gonna be, right? No, we're gonna be left. We're gonna output priority left and filter any greater than, yeah, whatever, at this point. We'll just say anything higher than normal. So if it finds anything higher than normal, dump it out over there, and we're going to put it somewhere for now. Essentially, all I'm probably going to do with it is put it over here and run a line of stuff into a bunch of chests. And the same thing is going to happen over here. Copy, paste. Except I want it on the other side. That's fine. And you're going to do the same thing there. And then this is just going to go into a bunch of these. And those are going to be placed into storage containers. And we're going to make sure they're powered. And then we're going to feed it with stuff. So again, I don't care what we get. That's the whole point. I don't care what we get. The thing is, I want to scrap anything that's not necessary, and I want to just basically make it all go away as quickly as possible. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch of things going. But essentially, all of this is going to be trash until there's nothing left. This is taking a way longer than I had expected it to. This island didn't have hardly anything on it, so all I did was scrape all of the buildings and whatnot off, and I'm now working on trying to get this one down. There should be roughly a million or two scrap over here, so I'm just going to kind of go over there and slowly scrape the buildings off and feed it into the system. I need to add a few more of these down here on the end because we are not keeping up, but we are getting a few, well, uncommon resources, and by mean a few, this has been many stacks of random garbage that is coming in to the system. I'm not expecting this to work very much or very quickly, basically because what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to do the obvious, which is, and it is obvious, I want you guys to understand this. If you look at the fact that you can take a regular quality uncommon and make a better quality, say quality 3 here, this quality 3, if I click on it and I have it work, it will add a quality of plus 3.2, whereas one of these adds 2.5. So this is one of those, like, the first thing you want to do when you do this is you build just enough qualities to be able to do something goofy like this, and then you take the parts that you get and you start building quality module 3s. Where is that painful, you ask? Well, it's in the production of, where are they? Those things, superconductors. That means I either have to craft quality 2 or quality 3 copper plates, plastic bars, and holmium plates, or I scrap something that has those in it and hope I get the crafting. The only thing that has in it is the quality modules themselves or these capacitors. or excuse me, yeah, capacitors. So that's going to be something that I will play with a little bit off camera. And again, I'm going to continue to just kind of scrape through all of this stuff. But that was a reasonable stack of scrap, and we got a bare minimum of a few things. So essentially, like I said, what it's going to do is it's going to sit here and cycle things around and cycle things around. We're going to pull the holmium ore out of here, right here, and then we're going to do the, just store up as much of this stuff as we can. We can see we're starting to get some rare parts. Rare parts are going to be good, and certain things that we don't need. I want you to understand why this sucks so bad and why this method of trying to produce things is going to take for absolute ever. It's because of the fact that the recycler takes something and returns 25% of it, which means it's going to take forever to do this. I'm going to try to get a bunch of these done in between episodes. I'll probably build 2 or 3 of these, and we're going to start scraping pretty much. I'm probably just going to build a rail line this direction and just start scraping every single one of these larger islands that we can possibly scrape and run it into several of these machines. Essentially what I'll probably end up doing is doubling this up and stacking it behind us and just slowly and surely grinding through the parts. And then once we get the parts, then we can start building the machines. But I think for right now that has been plenty of enough for me. I've got a lot of work to do. I was just figuring on sitting here. This takes a minute. I have to come over here and very carefully and slowly remove the stuff from these islands, because I'm just using the little bitty bots to do it. And if you get them overexcited, they take forever to clean things up. But essentially like this and this and this, and help them pick things up and slowly work a small area out until you do it. And I'm trying to leave the lightning towers so that I don't get blasted every single time. But once we get this island cleaned up, we'll drop a bunch of miners on it, and I'll run a train from here over to there, and probably a train from here to this island that has a whole bunch of stuff, if I can figure out a way to get a train and a bunch of miners on that one. And then yeah, we'll just have fun doing all of the fun stuff. So I will see you all next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. These are going to be some fun ones for a little while. I think we're going to be busy doing a lot of grinding and a lot of silliness. We may go to Gleba next time. So anyhow, talk to y'all later. Bye.